Okay, so here's season 5, and this season, it reflected season 1 in a way that most these episodes were just spontaneous and random and, weren't really uploaded at any kind of a schedule or anything. And I think season 6 was the same way as well. And would you believe that even to this day, there are some people out there who aren't aware that those two songs have the same melody? Oh, that was an outdated pop culture reference there. It was from that Arby's commercial. And another outdated reference there. And here's the April Fool's episode, which unfortunately utilizes even more outdated references, or in this case, outdated memes, Rickroll and Caramel Dancing. Because, gosh, who even still does either of those anymore? But here's the YouTube debut of Bethany. And as I said previously, Bethany was created to give Steve sort of a sidekick character, someone who he could interact with on his own sort of childlike level. And I specifically chose a girl monster for 2 reasons, one of which was because at the time my fan base was largely female. And if there's one complaint that you often hear, it's that, there's not enough positive female characters out there for girls. So that's one reason. And the other reason is because it sends sort of a subtle message that, boys and girls can be friends without having to worry about cooties and stuff like that. And this also marked the YouTube debut of one of the Squirrely Squirrels, Jennifer specifically. And the Squirrely Squirrels were created, well, they were inspired by actual squirrels. You watch squirrels run around chasing each other in trees and just causing all kinds of little mischief and what have you. And so, because Steve and Bethany play in the park a lot, I had the idea of creating these squirrels to sort of harass them and give them a hard time. Like I said, this is Jennifer. And I did not like the way the puppets originally turned out or how they were originally designed. And shortly afterwards, I redesigned the characters on paper, though. Never got around to actually rebuilding the puppets altogether. Oh, and their clothes were done by Anjanette Heil. She became my wardrobe mistress because she's a professional doll. She makes clothes and costumes for dolls. And this right here, this was a belated April Fool's thing. Because back then, 2011, YouTube, on April Fool's Day, they had this thing where all YouTube videos could be viewed like silent movies with the sepia tone filter and the piano music and what have you. And everybody was quick to jump on that bandwagon, so I was late to the punch here. And here's a little thing that I did. You can see right here, it looks like he sang a lot. And then the title card has very little dialogue. And then right after this, he says very little, but the title card is very wordy, just to mix it up a bit. But otherwise, he actually was saying the things that you're reading in the title cards. So here we go. The wordy title card. Oh, no. I don't remember that. Yeah, there we go. This is, I must confess, this is kind of an awkward season, and, oh, that's right, I did do another Easter episode. Mainly as an excuse to introduce Easter Egg here, who was pretty much created solely for the purpose of sort of like hidden Mickeys in Disney movies. Easter Egg was created to sort of, serve that very purpose. And in fact, she doesn't even have a name. That's just what we call her, Easter Egg. And since then, she's pretty much made at least once a season appearances for the rest of the series, and I'm pretty sure, you'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure she slipped into Puppet Power and Technicolor Dreams. But I always try to hide her somewhere in just about everything that I do. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's more obvious, like you just saw there. And her design was, I think she came from the same cloning lab that Irma Langenstein from the Ninja Turtles came from when they cloned her from Jeanette from the Chipmunks. Of course, now that those two characters don't even look alike anymore since they've been redesigned for their current incarnations, kind of makes me think I should redesign Easter Egg, or at least give her a different outfit to wear, because it really doesn't apply anymore. But, whatever. Now this, okay, this independent study, I confess, is me, actually. It's based on an observation that I've made. Because over the years, even as far back as when I was a kid, I've come to notice that it seems like almost every girl that I've ever known in my life is obsessed with anime. And so, here we go. There's Anime Steve, which itself was sort of a jab at those little anime-inspired animated bits on Sesame Street at the time, which I believe actually originated on Sesame English, I think. Yeah, so Steve thinks being a purple monster and now being anime, that's just going to endear himself to his female fans even more. Okay, now this one, I confess, I actually don't remember doing this one. I really don't. And I don't understand. Clearly, I put effort into it, set dressing there, and, obviously I did it, but, I don't know. I just actually don't remember doing this one.
Now, that doesn't help me very much because I don't have an accent.
And looking back at the air dates, this apparently was posted on my birthday in 2011, so how I found the time I just don't know. I just don't know. Maybe I was brain fried from the heat or something, because it's always so hot down here in the summer. So obviously, those must have been references to Animaniacs, because Wacko, sorry. Why did I say Yakko? Wacko was an imitation of Ringo Starr. That second one was a reference to Hogan's Heroes, because Schultz was such a Dummkopf. And that last one was reference to Saturday Night Live, because Lyle Kane was a very white Dutch guy who was trying to be black. And this Colin Mockery business, that obviously was a reference to Whose Line Is It Anyway? But like I said, I just don't... This one I don't remember doing. But again, clearly I put effort into it. I just don't know why I don't remember doing this. Oh, and this is another one that I already talked about in my top 11. I mean, again, what were the chances that there would be something out there with two people named Steve and Bethany? Just like, what were the chances that Ernie and Bert on Sesame Street would coincidentally share their names with a pair of characters from the movie It's a Wonderful Life? So that's the short commentary for the short 5th season. So after this, we'll get on to the season 6 commentary. So stay tuned.